Hello and welcome to the Konvergent Video Series for the week of October 19th. Top three things we're going to cover on the video today. First, the market was pretty flat on stimulus concerns. Two, we're going to talk about some challenging employment data. And finally, we're going to talk about economic data with a pretty mixed week of results coming through. So before we jump into the data though, I hope you all had a great weekend. Pretty stress-free weekend here in the Pacific Northwest. The Seahawks didn't have a game, so we didn't have to worry about the stressful endings that they typically have. And really, at a great start to the weekend on Friday, we watched a great family movie called The Bridge to Terabithia, which is a movie based on a book of the same name. And actually, the movie turned out extremely different than what we expected based on the previews, and actually turned out as it was a really sad ending. But there's a lot of great lessons along the way, and I think one of the most important ones, especially for me, was having an active imagination. And it was really neat to see that play out over the weekend with my kids, as we spent a lot of time going through the woods and trails in the woods near our house on both Saturday and Sunday. And it was neat to see my daughters turn the woods into their own big imaginary playground, where the trees were trolls and impressions in the ground were the footprints of those trolls, and dragonflies were warriors, and all sorts of other great creations. And it was a really good reminder for me. I'm probably not the best at really having that active imagination. It's not my nature to do that. And so it was a good lesson watching the movie, then seeing them do that, to really engage myself and really get into the story with them and really play throughout the weekend. So again, it was a great weekend, and hope you had a good one as well. So on to the data for the week. As we mentioned, the market was pretty flat on the week. It started up on Monday and then faded really throughout the week on concerns of whether we're going to get this stimulus package done. And we're at this kind of tipping point as to whether, if we do get this big stimulus package, it might be able to justify the current market prices and even, maybe justify an increase in prices. On the flip side, we're getting a lot of challenging economic data right now, and also a large rise in COVID cases. And if we do see any sort of shutdowns to the economy that could really impact what is already a precarious recovery, there's a lot of justification for the markets to go the other way too. So lots to watch and see here in the next couple of weeks. So on to the employment data for the week. First, new claims for unemployment came in at 900,000 on the state claims, which is the highest since August. And also new pandemic claims came in at close to 400,000. So total still of new claims last week were over 1 million at 1.3 million total new claims. Continuing claims continue to show signs of positive movement, where they dropped pretty significantly. However, as we mentioned in the video last week, we believe most of that is due to the fact that most of these state continuing programs have a limit of 26 weeks of benefits. And if you were one of the first groups of unemployed starting back in March and April of this year, you're now running out of eligibility on those programs. And you can really see that show up in the total claims, which are still over 25 million of total unemployment claims. And you can see in this data, we had 800,000 lower continuing claims on the state programs. However, that was replaced almost exactly by about 800,000 of new emergency pandemic or ongoing emergency pandemic claims, which is the replacement program for those continuing claims. So overall, still a very challenging employment market. So on to some other economic data for the week. The one bright spot really last week was retail sales. So they were up over 5% year over year. So one of the few areas of the economy that's really showing this V-shaped recovery we're all hoping for. However, on the flip side, on a cause for concern, we saw that the manufacturing data came in still about 6% below where it was year over year, and industrial production came in around 7% lower than it was last year. So still a lot of challenging data out there in the economy, and really a lot of strain in seeing that we're really not getting back to this V-shaped recovery we were all hoping for. So bottom line for the week, we expect at least this week that the stimulus package discussions are going to dominate the headlines. But we're now less than 3 weeks away, really only about 2 weeks away from the elections. So we expect that uncertainty around who's going to win the elections and what that's going to look like. Is it a blue wave? What's going to happen there? So a lot of uncertainty is going to start dominating the headlines very shortly, as well as all this economic data and earnings report. So there's just a lot going on right now, creating a lot of this volatility in the market, which really leads us to remain in our cautious stance that we've been in recently, and likely will be at least in the very near term until a lot of this volatility plays out. So with that, we'll hope you all have a great week. And as always, if you have any individual questions, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to talk with you about your individual situation. But other than that, we hope you have a great week, and we look forward to talking to you soon.